So welcome back to another session on grammar, pitfalls to look out for. So after dealing with a brief introduction on grammar and the way questions are to be formulated, and also a session on verbs, we thought we'll deal with prepositions this time. Because a lot of people come and tell us, we know the prepositions, in, on, at, for, about, under. We know all the prepositions, but it's slightly confusing. It's really confusing, not just slightly, it's really confusing when we have to use what. Okay, so which preposition to use where, for what purpose, that's really confusing. So we thought, okay, to this session, we'll deal with prepositions. So I've used a slide that shows some of the examples. Okay, now sometimes we don't really need prepositions. Okay, we can easily do away with prepositions. Like for example, she reached the airport, or we reached the bus stand. We reached at the airport or we reached at the railway station is not really necessary. At can be used to indicate a time. We reach the airport at 6 p.m. or in the evening. So that is where we need a preposition. We don't really need a preposition to show the destination. Or she entered into the room. We don't really enter into a room. We enter a room is enough. That probably happens because we tend to translate English. We are translating it. We are translating the Malayalam or the mother tongue original, and we are trying to use that structure in English. And again, they travel in bus. Not really, they travel by bus, okay? And she's angry at me, she's angry with me, really, okay? So sometimes we don't really need a preposition, like she loves with me, not really, she loves me. Or you can say she's in love with me. There a preposition is good. In love with me is fine, but otherwise she loves me is enough. She loves me is fine. So, but she's angry with me or she's angry at me. We don't need at me, we need she's angry with me. She's angry with me for some reason. Then we also ask who is at the phone. Who is on the phone is more right, okay? Then they go to school by foot. We very often say that. How did you come? I came by foot. No, you come on foot, okay? And he congratulated her for her success. He congratulated her on her success. So these are a couple of errors that we thought it will be helpful for you to point it out. So another area, among preposition, a lot of confusion happens when we use to and for. So whether to use to or whether to use for is a problem. Now, I've given it in two columns. So one is where we have to use to. Like for example, we are going to Paris, shows destination. It is a quarter to 2, okay? Or it's a quarter after 2 is also there. But between 2 and 4, we don't say it is a quarter for 2, it is a quarter to 2. Sometimes it's about distance. It's 10 miles from my house to the university. And sometimes when we compare, okay, I prefer sleeping to walking, or I prefer eating to drinking. And I gave the book to my sister. Okay, so you bring the book to me and you bring the book for me. So between 2 and 4, when we use them, there is a difference in meaning. And I came here to see you. I came here for you is right, but you can't say I came here for seeing you. I came here for you, I came here to see you. So the next column explains where we use for instead of to, actually, okay? So yogurt is good for your health. We have lived here for 2 years, and sometimes we schedule and we say that we have made an appointment for May the 3rd or May 3rd. And are you for meaning in favor of? Are you for or against the development of nuclear weapon? Could you carry these books for me? So again, carrying the books to me and carrying the books for me are two different things. There is nothing wrong, but the meaning changes when we substitute to with for. And then let's go out for a drink. We don't say let's go out to a drink. Let's go out to have a drink is fine. Otherwise, it's let's go out for a drink. So those are the examples where we have to use to and for. Another common area is a confusion between whether we use for, since or ago. Okay, so that's actually very easy because the for actually indicates a stipulated time period. It's a block of time, so to say, 15 years. I've lived here for 15 years. I've worked here for 20 years. I've been learning for 60 years or 16 years, okay? So that for there, when you refer to a block of time, we use for because it's a block of time, okay? But since actually refers to a specific point. I've lived here since 1980. I've worked here since 1988. Okay, so that's a specific point of reference, and from that point onwards till now we have been doing that action. We have been doing this. Okay, so Jennifer is in her office. She has been there since 7 a.m. and ago, again, it's a block of time, but it's in reverse order. We say he was here, he has been here for 15 years, or he was here 15 years ago. It's a block of time, but where we stand in connection to that, in relation to that block of time, is different. So when you say 15 years ago, that's in the past tense. Okay, that is over. Okay, but when we say for 15 years, that is still happening. We are in the front. Okay, we are in the present, and then we are talking about it. Both since and ago actually refer to blocks of time. That is there, and for actually is used to indicate a specific point in time. Okay, so but ago actually comes afterwards. He has been living here for 15 years. He has been living here 15 years. He was living here 15 years ago. That's the difference. And the last one is, of course, Linda and Frank got married 20 years ago. You can't say since 20 years ago, since 20 years, because that's not really right. There is no specific point. They got married in 1980 is fine, but they got married for 20 years? No, they have been married for 20 years ago. Sorry, they have been married for 20 years, but they have been married 20 years ago. That is a specific point in the past tense, but a block of time in the past. Now, next slide actually shows where to use in, on and at. Okay, so you can see a triangle sort of thing. On one side where we use in, on and at with reference to time, and on the other side where we use in, on and at with reference to place. Okay, now broadly both these, for time and place, we use in when it's a reference point is big. In the 1900s, in the 1990s, in France, in continents. Okay, so when the reference point is big, we use in for both time and place. When it gets narrowed down, when it gets more specific, we use on. Okay, on Sunday, on Christmas Day, on holiday, on a holiday, or with reference to places. Okay, on Oxford Street, on third floor. So when the reference point becomes specified, becomes narrower, we move on to the preposition on, and it is when it is very specific, we have to say at. Okay, so places and time, usually at 3 p.m. The meeting is scheduled at or for 3 p.m. Specifically, the meeting will happen at 3 p.m. So hours, parts of day, midnight, at midnight. Cinderella's pumpkin turned back at midnight. So time, all these, or place. Okay, it happened in Trivandrum, it happened at Palayam. Trivandrum is a bigger reference point and Palayam is a specific reference point. So that is the normal rule when we are using in, on and at with reference to time and place. Bigger the reference point or the reference space, we use on. We use in, and as we narrow it down, we change to on, and when it is very specific, we use at. Okay, so that's that slide about. And since we have talked about prepositions, we have already talked about verbs, and we mentioned adverbs briefly. I thought we'll mention phrasal verbs also. Okay, a phrasal verb is actually a combination of a verb and a preposition, or a verb and an adverb. Okay, like sit down or stand up. Okay, so that's a phrasal verb. Now I've given some of the examples of phrasal verb. You must be familiar with a number of phrasal verbs like whom do you take after. Take after meaning resemble. So the peculiarity of phrasal verb is that they don't mean the independent or the individual meaning of the words, of the constituent words, but together they mean something else altogether. They act as a unit and they have a different meaning. So take after actually means resemble. Okay, take off means leave. Now put off means postpone. Put out means extinguish. So we have a verb in combination with a preposition sometimes, or an adverb. Okay, so it's a very interesting area. There is a very nice collection of phrasal verbs in English. It actually enriches the language. It adds color. It makes your language different and very attractive when we use phrasal verbs. But of course, we should be able to know exactly what it means. So, like for example, carry on. Carry on, people might tend to misunderstand and think that we are carrying on something, like we are keeping something, we are carrying something. But carry and on, they come together to mean continue. So that is the problem with phrasal verbs. You have to get the meaning right before we use it. So break into, for example, or back out. You back out of something. You know, somebody has backed out of a project, meaning you don't want to continue, you're discontinuing it. So they have backed out. So similarly, there are lots of phrasal verbs starting with take, starting with make, starting with get, you know, make up something, get on something, get on with somebody, where are you, put up, okay, how do you put up, where are you, put up, somebody has to adjust, or somebody tolerates, that is put up with. So sometimes there is one preposition, sometimes there are two prepositions. Put up with meaning tolerate. Where are you put up is where are you staying. Okay. So phrasal verbs actually add a lot of variety to the language. And the last slide, I've brought in a number of expressions to say goodbye again. Okay. So later, or ciao, or see you soon. Very informally, you can say smooches. Why not? If you love that person that much, you can always say smooches and talk to you soon or chat to you soon. Don't be a stranger. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.